Welcome back to the Retro Pioneers podcast. I'm your host, Blackboijaye, where we dive into the all things gaming, both retro and modern, with a touch of nostalgia. Tonight, we got a special guest, an actor, a gamer, and an all-around cool guy who knows as his role as a marshal in the Wild West Chronicles. Please welcome Byron P. Jackson. Hey, Byron, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, Blackboijaye. Thank you, sir, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Absolutely. The pleasure is all ours. So let us dive in to kick things off. Could you give our listeners a little background on your journey? How did you get started, both acting and game?
Well, man, gosh, acting is one of those kind of lifelong dreams you have. And for me, kind of knew early on, but took a while to kind of work up the courage to tell my parents. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Rockville, Maryland. And I just made the choice. I was teaching karate full time, and I made the choice to finally step, with him with both feet. So I told everybody I was going to start taking some classes. I'm going to be moving in a year. I'm going to really try to do this thing, And so that's what I did. I started taking classes in DC at this place called the Studio Theater, which is a nice theater training place in DC. And from there, I just was hooked, taking classes, doing monologue, doing different scenes, doing scene studies. Then I moved out here, and I just felt like it was the perfect time because I had the right mix of physicality. I was a martial artist. That way you'd see me use the martial arts on screen, hopefully someday. And then I was starting to pick up the actual, actor skill, the thespian skills. And it just kind of was the perfect meth. And from there, I just started to network and got a commercial agent. I got some really good headshots. And then actually I was able to get another commercial agent that was even bigger, kind of a little more prominent. That helped me land a bunch, pretty much the majority of my work that I've gotten so far. Through that success, I was able to get a manager. The manager then helped me land more theatrical auditions. And then finally I got the role of Bass Reeves, right in the heart of the pandemic, which was a while unto itself. We're all masked up on set, that kind of thing. And it was just a blast, getting a chance to play Bass. And that was kind of my acting journey.
Okay. That's awesome, man. You clearly got a good, strong connection to both acting and gaming. I love to hear more about how you got interested in Western themed games. Did your passion for Western influence your choice to play a martial, or was it the other way around?
Well, that's the thing. I forgot to mention. So gaming wise, I've been a gamer since I was a kid. I'm an old head. I don't want to say exactly how old I am, but I'm an old head. And so for me, I can remember having an Atari around when I was real young. Don't remember too much about it, but I just remember like being there. My main system I remember first having was, of course, the original Nintendo home entertainment system. We should play Mario, Excite Bike. Like we were talking the other day, Excite Bike was a big one for us. We used to play constantly. Mike Tyson Punch Out, of course. All those classics on Nintendo. Then we finally got Super NES. Then we leveled up to things like Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Mortal Kombat 3, Super Metroid, FIFAs and NBA Jam, all those great games in that classic arcade era. Then, I took like a little bit of a hiatus, just kind of going through high school, getting into sports, things like that. And then came back around in college during the Halo era, got into Halo 1, got an Xbox. And the funny thing about Halo is that I finally realized I was good at first-person shooters because I realized there was an inverted option. I told you, I used to play GoldenEye with my buddies, and I was okay, but I could never get it that good because I didn't realize you could invert it. And finally inverted the sticks, and the rest was history. So from then on, I've been playing Halo. I play everything now, and I'm fortunate enough to have a PS5 and an Xbox Series X. So now I just play a little bit of everything. Play fantasy games, play first-person shooters, racing games sometimes. My main game that I mostly play is open world. But like you mentioned, so for my Western games, Red Dead Redemption 2 was a huge influence for me creatively for the character actually of Bass Reeves, and just for my own game that I've been writing kind of in my spare time. Kind of scratched all the itches that I didn't know I was missing at the time because I love open world games. I don't think I had played a Western since Red Dead Revolver, which is, years and years ago. I didn't play the original Red Dead. Mm-hmm. But Red Dead 2 came out and the story just was perfect. It kind of hit at the right time. And then the online component launched like a month later. I was able to customize my own character, make a black cowboy, have him have a slick, duster, had a cool silver horse and everything like that. And it was cool. I really got deep into that game. Me and my posse, the Phantom Club, and Red Dead 2 for a good 2 years, like a legit 2 years of that game, just kind of, coming home, getting all my other friends, putting the headset on, posseing up, running around, making sure no one was ganking your cargo. It was just great. That game was a big influence on just my gaming and that character Bass Reeves too.
It's so cool, man. It sounds like you got a good, unique blend of hobbies and a career that cross paths in an interesting way. Now, let's jump into one of the questions I'm most curious about.
Sure.
All right, Byron, I got to ask, what are the top 3 favorite games? What are your top 3 favorite games? And what makes each one stands out up to you? And what genre?
Oh man, good question. My top 3 favorite games, are we doing all time or just kind of like
All time.
Okay. Well, gosh. Well, my favorite genre of game and of like entertainment is science fiction, sci-fi. I love sci-fi. Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica. Just there's too many to name. I'm a huge sci-fi fan. Dune, of course. So that sci-fi games always kind of hold a special place in my heart. So let's go in no particular order. Just going to name my 3 favorites. One of them is definitely in that top 3. Has got to be Mass Effect 1.
Okay.
Mass Effect 1 was kind of like Red Dead, where it was like this gaming epiphany. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I could get a game like this on my console, because it let you fully customize your character. I was able to be a black space astronaut, Marine dude, Commander Shepard. And I was able to, have all these cool voice options and romance characters. I think that was the first time I had romanced a character in a game. But it was just a very slick, it felt like a PC game that we were able to play on our console, and it looked amazing too. So that game just kind of blew me away at the time, and it always will hold a special place in my heart. I love the whole series, Mass Effect 1, 2, 3, and even the controversial Andromeda. So that's definitely in the top 3. Another game in the top 3 has got to be, it's got to be, I would say Halo 1 also, because Halo 1 it kind of brought me back into this era of gaming. It was like my launching pad for everything I do now. Halo 1, like I said, when I inverted those sticks, it was another gaming epiphany. It was like everything clicked. I was able to run around and jump and look all over. It didn't feel weird. Like, when you give someone a controller and they haven't played a game and they don't know how to look around, and they're, once that's gone, it's like, oh man, everything just starts clicking. So that for me was when that experience clicked, and Halo 1 was just perfect. The story, everything. I was like, super fun. Let's see, number 3. What's number 3 in that list? I think I will have to say Red Dead Redemption 2. Just because I love the time I got with it. I honestly, I wish they had not stopped supporting it. I mean, you can still play the game, obviously, and do all the things. But in terms of them putting out new content like they do for GTA 5, like every 4 months or something, they stopped doing it. I don't know why. It has a huge player base. It's sold millions of copies, made them tens of millions of dollars. It was a huge success. Like, nothing about that was a failure for them, but I guess they had to put all their chips in GTA 6.
Yes. I was just about to say that. They saw what was the moneymaker, and they had to stick with that.
Yeah.
Because it was bringing them more money than Red Dead Redemption. But like you said, Red Dead Redemption had its own audience that could have made even more money. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, when you're making as much money as Rockstar, you can kind of do what you want. You can hire as many people, and you can keep both games going and not lose any money, because they made $1 billion off of GTA 5 in the first year.
Yeah. Not to mention that GTA 5, well, not GTA, GTA 5 was on 3 generations of systems.
You're not lying. It's everywhere.
It was everywhere. So, and then on top of that, it didn't really get main exposure like that for online based stuff like that till I think the Xbox.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It had a shaky the online portion of GTA 5 was their first, because you remember GTA 4 had an online portion, but it was kind of small, couldn't do too much in it. It was just kind of like messing around with your friends. But GTA 5, that was when they opened up Los Angeles and they said, okay, now we're going to give you all this stuff. And for the first year, it was touch and go because there wasn't that much stuff to do. Because me and my buddies, we were all, we were in it playing, driving our lowrider, driving our Lamborghinis around, having a blast. But then, like year 3, they started just cranking out just pack after pack and content, and content it just exploded after that. It was just insane. It's become the behemoth that it is now, with the role playing servers and everything, NeoPixel.
It's interesting to hear how you feel these games hold a unique charm. How do you feel the narrative in most games stack up against the storytelling experience as in acting in your roles? I'm sorry.
Very well. Yeah. The modern game is it's a cinematic experience. Honestly, you're getting fully fledged directed and cinematography, acted out scenes. You have, especially in your bigger first party games, your Xbox exclusives, your PlayStation exclusives, those games, the acting budget on those is legit. Because you're getting people in the mocap suits, you're getting people with the digital cameras getting in there. You have cinematographers planning out the shots and making sure things correlate with the artists on the tech side. And the narrative has to be right there. Otherwise these games wouldn't be selling as much. When you look at, cutscenes from like a God of War or Horizon Forbidden West or something like Detroit, Only Human, Detroit. Yeah, I think Only Human. Is that what's called? Detroit Only Human. Even Cyberpunk 2077. Those games, the cutscene level is it's high. It look good, make you kind of feel like you're immersed in that world, and it goes hand in hand with what we do here in Hollywood. And so, when I played a character like Bass Reeves in the Western, those themes and narratives that we're telling in those stories could easily have been mocapped and put into a video game.
Okay. Now I know gaming can be pretty time consuming, and acting definitely isn't a 9 to 5 job. How do you balance both your career and your passion for gaming?
Well, I'm not the best. I played a lot of games. I'm like, I get in a lot of game time just because the acting world it's gig work. You know what I mean? So I do acting when I have acting jobs. I try to do other work when I'm not, depending on how good my year's been going, that kind of a thing. But when I have free time, man, I am gaming. Like most of the time, if the missus isn't home or if she's back here doing something else, it's game time. I'm on there. I don't know, something about digital worlds. I was fortunate enough to grow up with a brother who was an artist, an illustrator, and he had a passion for drawing comic books. And when I was born, I just remember there being comic books everywhere. So I was always kind of drawn to the visual side of the craft, and that translated right into video games and animation, cartoons, anime, CGI, all of that stuff. It just kind of like, it gets to me, it speaks to me. And so I like being in those virtual worlds, and, I'm a graphics junkie. So I love getting in there and looking at everything and kind of seeing these awesome vistas, and it just kind of takes me away.
Okay. Have you ever drawn inspiration from a game for a role or vice versa? Maybe a character or storyline?
Well, other than Red Dead, using some of the things and the style and the bravado that characters have in Red Dead and try to bring that into the Western world of Bass Reeves, I definitely use a lot of the games I play for creative inspiration, just on my own pet project. The pandemic was such a kind of a behemoth on everybody mentally. I needed that creative outlet. And so I was like, man, I need to just start putting these sci-fi fantasy ideas I have about a game just on paper. So I just started typing out outline and just kind of like a stream of thought and building this world and what they do and the weapons they fight with. And I'm not quite at the narrative phase for this story, but I'm building like all the particulars, all the kind of rules of what the world is, good and the bad, those people, the factions, the history, the timeline of how they got to where they are now. And so a lot of the games I've played, especially the sci-fi games, have been a huge influence on that creative venture that I hope one day to get made. I'd love to, somehow pitch a game to a studio or something, or maybe, gosh, I mean, start my own studio. That'd be a, a pipe dream, but you never know.
Hey, I mean, you don't never know because sky's the limit
Mhm.
until you finish the project and get it out there. Only you would know your true potential for that particular game, no matter what you do in life. You know what I'm saying? So it
Yeah.
just hey, sky's the limit, man, and it's gonna happen. It's up to you.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's get a peek behind the scenes of your life as both a gamer and an actor. What typical what's a typical day like for you when you're gaming just for the fun versus preparing for a role?
Okay. Well, preparing for a role, definitely that's a big step because it's obviously a lot of just reading over the script over and over. The one thing that I like to do in my preparations is just keep going over and over and over. And as you go over that script, you start to find little intricacies and you start to honestly understand what's happening more and more and more and more and more and more. Just reading it one time, obviously you've never learned the lines, but as you go through it, you make little notes, you make little ideas, and you're putting in your objectives on the margins, and you're building up the confidence to say these words as if they're your own. You know what I mean? That's kind of the thing that to realize about acting is that you have to embody words somebody else has written it and make them sound super, super natural. And so that's a day of that is just, looking at the script as much as I can. But then I have to get away from it. I'm one of those people who I need time to like work, 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 and then break. And then work, 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 and then break, especially when I'm preparing for something. Otherwise, I'll kind of get too anxious about it. So I like to go over the script a bunch of times, look at it hard, 2, 3 hours, that kind of thing. Take a break, relaxing, playing a game, just kind of casually get out of it, hop into something that's not too competitive, just something more relaxing. Like right now, I'm playing a lot of Dragon Age Veilguard. That game
How you
is
liking the game?
loving it. Super fun. That game has a great character creator. It is one of the best character creators, not only of the year, but of like literally the decade.
Mm.
It's got great skin texture, skin tone, hair textures, all that stuff. Perfect. I have to
Yeah, I
share
gotta
my,
check that out.
yeah, if you check out my threads page, I'm showing my Rook. He's up there. So
I'm
I'm
gonna
playing a
check
lot of
it out.
that. So yeah, that's acting days like when I have to prepare and then, maybe shoot something later that week. If it's, going to set, then it's just, get up, go right to set, work that day, do everything you got to do for your time, and then come home. And then it's just pure relaxation time after that. And so like an after work gaming day, if I'm done for that week and I've finished everything I need to do, then I might, want to get some competitive with some Halo or some Predecessor, which is it's a kind of over the shoulder MOBA.
Okay. No, heard of that game, man. Tell me more about it.
No, yeah, Predecessor is cool. I heard about the game. It used to be called Paragon, and it was a PlayStation 4 exclusive that Epic Games guys who work on Fortnite that they were doing for Sony. And it was going well, and it was in the kind of development, kind of like beta stage, and people were playing it. But then because Fortnite took off, they were like, oh, this is where the money is. So they actually released all of the game's assets and everything they had worked on for free on Unreal Engine 5.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was wild. So um, a company kind of formed out of that, grabbed up those assets and kind of rebuilt the game. And then now years later, they're finally put it back out to play. And what always attracted my attention was because I like the idea of a MOBA like League of Legends and Dota, but I'm just not a fan of that top-down view, especially for something really competitive. Like I like, RTSs or top down, those are cool. But I don't know, a MOBA, I always wanted something that was more, had a better visual fidelity and kind of was more third person. And that's exactly what this one is. It's third person. It's right over the shoulder. The camera's right behind the character. Really nice graphics and Unreal Engine. It's just fun. Yeah.
Okay. Do you find any crossover skills between gaming, like quick reflexes or problem solving, that you think you can apply to acting?
Well, I mean, anytime you have a chance to problem solve, that's going to apply in your life in a myriad of ways.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh yeah. But I do find that gaming actually is one of those things that it keeps you sharp more than people realize. It kind of keeps you, it keeps those neurons firing in your brain. You know what I mean? And so it's I don't want to say it's like reading. I mean, reading is always better. It's about improving your brain, but it keeps those synapses going and kind of keeps you thinking about things, especially when you're playing a game that challenges you with some puzzles or exploration. You can easily extrapolate that to just your life and finding nuance in a character or in a script. I'll often, when I'm just taking in a game's cutscenes, I'll always find characters that I gravitate to, and just like in a movie or a television show. And if you can find a time to use a piece of that influence in something else, it's always a plus because you have like a visual reference. So there are times when I've gone back and looked at cutscenes from games I played on YouTube so I can get a picture of a character that I remember. It's like, oh yeah, I needed a little bit of that character. So
Okay, okay. All right, let's have some fun with this one, right?
sure.
If you could act in any Western game live action adaptation, which one would you pick and why?
Any Western games live action adaptation?
Mhm.
Oh, well, definitely Red Dead 2.
Okay.
Yeah, Red Dead 2 would be
Or
really
maybe Red
cool.
Dead 3.
Red Dead 3, yeah, or well, they've gotten into this thing where they do like television kind of it's kind of this it's like the story, but it's not like, the new Fallout show they did was like a brand new story set in the Fallout world. It was like that character, she wasn't from a game, but it still worked. So they could do something like that for Red Dead.
Okay.
But anyway, I mean, even if they did Red Dead 2, there's a character Lenny who was really cool. Lenny, unfortunately, spoiler alert, he dies. But no, but his death is a very emotional point for Arthur, the main character. They were thick as thieves. He's one of his best friends in the posse. So Lenny would be cool, or just being any new character they might want to bring into a Western would be awesome. Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Anytime you can do something where you get to really get in costume and step outside of this modern reality or going into the future or into the past, it's always fun. It's like extra fun. You know what I mean? You get some makeup, put a mustache or hats, and they throw dirt all over you.
Hey, love it, love it.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any memorable gaming moments? Maybe something that really impacted you or a moment in game that stood out?
So many. Gosh, so many. I was talking about one just the other day that in Star Wars Jedi Survivor plays Cal Kestis, and it's a great story in that it kind of takes you on this journey where he's learning a lot about the High Republic, but he's also, you know, catching up with a few people who are also kind of from his past that he doesn't quite realize. So he ends up crossing with this bounty hunter, or well, I guess smuggler, who he thinks is a smuggler, ends up being a Jedi. And there's a scene at the end of the game because that character ends up betraying Cal, and that character actually has a daughter. There's a very emotional scene at the end of the game because the character, he's gone fully over the dark side. Him and Cal are fighting, and his daughter sees him, and he actually ends up kind of like pushing his daughter away and almost really hurts her. But he ends up dying because Cal has to finish him off because he lost losing it. And this is all in front of his daughter. So that in itself was emotional. But then kind of the cherry on top is at the end, you get that classic Star Wars scene of the Jedi burial where they're on fire. So you have uh, Cal's kind of makeshift masters that he had just found there that, I can't remember their names. The two of them plus the Jedi that betrayed him. And then her daughter is there. And it's just this emotional moment where you see the fire's going, you're hearing the emotional Star Wars somber music. Sun is kind of setting and the daughter is there. And, like I said, this is all fully mocap. These characters look real. They're, based off of real faces. It's an Unreal Engine. So you're seeing that emotion. You're looking at it on your OLED big screen. And the daughter just goes up and she has this stuffed animal that she was obviously had with her. And it was her with her kind of semblance of her father. And she just had enough strength to go up there and say goodbye to him. And she put that on the fire to kind of fully release and all of it was just emotional. It was like one of the more recent times I had cried at the end of a game, I was like, oh, wow. I was not expecting that one to hit
Yeah,
me.
yeah. It hit me kind of hard too once I beat Jedi Survivor. I
Yeah.
didn't expect that type of emotion to come from a game.
Yeah. They played it really well. I wasn't even expecting, I can't remember the character's name. So I should look it up. What was his name? But anyway, I didn't expect the betrayal. And then all that leading up, everything after the betrayal was just done so well. But the betrayal kicks off with an unfortunate murder. He kills Master, I need to like look up the characters again.
Yeah, 'cause I totally forgot their names.
Yeah.
When Jedi Survivor first came out, I think I
Mhm.
beat it within 4 or 5 days.
Oh, nice.
Nonstop. I was so like collectively into this game
Yeah.
to the point it took most of my time. Of course, I'm married with
Yeah.
a son, a wife and a son, so I have to make time for them.
Mhm.
So I wasn't able to get a game too much time. That's why it
Yeah.
took me 5 days, 4 to 5 days. But if
Still,
I had
it's quick.
if I had more time, I probably would have beat the game in 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days.
But
Yeah,
you
that
learn.
game really rocked. The first one was fun. This one was even more fun. They leveled up all the fighting. The outfits were way better. You could actually change Cal's hair. That's one of the things in games. I'm a big fan of, like the
Customization.
aesthetics and the outfits and just mixing and matching. Seeing what they
Well,
can and can't wear. Different lightsaber colors, all the hilts. You could, change
I'm
out your
sorry.
gun parts.
Let me ask you this: which one, in your opinion, is the longest?
Longest game?
Jedi's, yeah, the first one or the second one?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say the second one is longer. I just think people might have beat it faster because it was just this. It was people were excited. It kind of gave you more actionable things to do. But
Mm.
yeah, I definitely prefer the second one. And I hope they keep going. Like I said, I'm a big open world fan, so I hope they keep going more open world with it and do what they did in Star Wars Outlaws and give us a speeder. Let us go from port to port. I'd love all that.
Okay. So, looking ahead, What's upcoming projects or games are you excited about, and any new roles we should keep an eye out for?
No, nothing that I've landed just yet. But I did just get a new agent, so that's exciting. So hopefully this year we'll start cook up a little bit. We'll start to get some good auditions coming in, things like that, and just keep leveling up the game there. But in terms of video games, man, gosh, I'm always excited for new games that are just coming down the road. As I got older, I've had to temper myself and not get on the hype train for everything. It's so hard. It's fun. That hype train is so fun. You see all the early trailers, you're looking at the graphics, you're looking at the characters, you're looking at customers' character creation, if I can talk. But a big game that I'm looking forward to right now would be Exodus, and it's being made by Archetype Entertainment. It's the two main guys you see in a lot of YouTube videos were two guys who worked on, I believe, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. I'm not 100% sure about 3, but I know they worked on 1 and 2. And then they started their own studio, and they're coming out with this big sci-fi kind of epic game where you can create your own character, and it deals with time dilation. I don't know. Have you seen the movie Interstellar?
So, I tried to watch it,
Yeah.
but it seems like every time I get time to watch it, something always happening where it takes my
Yeah.
attention off of
I feel you.
it.
Yeah.
And I always said to myself that it's one of the movies that I put on my backlog that I have to go back and watch. So thank you for reminding me about that, so I can watch it either today or tomorrow.
Yeah. Please do. I won't spoil any like major plotline for it, but Interstellar deals with time dilation, which is the phenomena that when you go light speed out of our solar system, time changes for you and us. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's like things are different. And so that's what this new game is going to be dealing with, is you're a space kind of pioneer traveler, and you're going off to go explore and find these things. But then when you come back, a certain amount of time has passed. And you have to deal with the repercussions of what you did or didn't do. And so it sounds really, really cool. It sounds like it's right up my alley. It sounds like it's a spiritual successor to Mass Effect. So
I mean, you know the rapper Logic.
yeah, oh yeah.
I
I'm
I
actually
know I
from the
heard
same
him.
area as Lodge. He's from Maryland.
Really? Okay, okay. Cause I know I recently, well, not recently, but previously I heard Logic mentioned in the Stellar multiple times, and that would actually caught my attention of watching the movie. You know, and like I told you, every time I tried to get involved into the movie, something
Mhm.
always happening where it takes my attention. So that was one of it's another movie about outer space that I was supposed to be watching, but I can't think of the name right now, and I don't want to butcher the name. But
Was it with Brad Pitt?
no, so the girl who plays on the Hunger Games.
Her and Chris Pratt
Yes,
are
yes,
in.
yes.
Gosh, what is the name of that movie? It'll come to me like right after we end the podcast. I'm trying to be like, oh, that was that.
Okay, okay. So speaking of games, have you ever thought about getting into voice acting for games and you got the perfect voice for it? So is that something you're thinking about doing in the
I
near
would
future?
love to. Yeah, I would definitely love to. And like I said, I was fortunate enough to get signed with a new agency this past week. And that was one of the things that I talked about with my agent was I'd love to do video game voice work. And she actually mentioned, well, she has had a number of people booked in the mocap side. I'm like, well, that's fine too. I was that's one and the same for me. I'd love to do either or both, all of it. I mean, the thing about being in a game is being in a game and in any kind of movie, but a game especially is it kind of immortalizes you as that character in that game, which is kind of cool, you know. I forget the actress's name, but the lady who mocaps and voices the character Aloy in the Horizon series. I mean, God, she's been in many games. She's been Aloy. She's been in Borderlands series. She was in, gosh, I think Life is Strange. She's been in a bunch of games. She's kind of like Troy Baker, where she's been in so many different games.
Hmm.
That's fun. That's cool. I'd love to do that. You
Okay,
know,
okay.
kind of just hopefully I can break my foot through the door.
Oh man, it's going to happen, man. Because like I said, you got the passion, and you obviously got
Do
the
that.
voice for it. So it's going to happen. It just you need that right team
Yeah,
to get you to where you need to go. I mean, of course, it's going to be up to you because you're the engine, and you know you just need that body, as far as the right people to open up them doors for you. And you know, hopefully, man, like I said, well, how me and you was talking about, um, get you on the podcast, man, and get you to, you know, do extra stuff, man. You know, instead of being a
sure.
guest, man, be a host sometimes. You
Yeah,
know, it just like I said before, man, the sky's the limit, and whatever you got setting in store for us goals and things like that, it's going to happen because we're at a time now where it's up to us to make our dreams come true.
yeah,
You know,
that's
and
true.
it's like, you know, only you can make yourself do something, or it's only you can make it to the point where you don't do something. So, you know, I truly believe that that's going to happen for you, man. It's only
Appreciate
a
that,
matter
man.
of time.
Appreciate that.
So, all right, Byron, we're winding down here, but I want to get your advice for our listeners. What advice would you give to those who are passionate both about gaming and acting, but aren't sure how to pursue both?
For it. Number one, I say go for it. What does go for it mean? It means first you have to admit to yourself that you want to like really look in the mirror and admit to it. Research it a little bit, see what you can do if you're not in California, what you can do in your area first. But don't feel like you have to stay there. I know before I moved out here, I had some people who were in the business various on the East Coast would always say, well, see what you can do here first. And you want to kind of see if you can become the biggest fish here first. And I was always like, what's going on here? Other than training and taking classes and maybe getting some theater parts here and there. But even then, you want to go to where the work is, where the industry is thriving and where you can, like, if you want to do Wall Street, kind of want to be close to New York, right? So if you want to act, you want to go to the hubs. There's hubs, Los Angeles, Atlanta, New York. You want to get to those places, get headshots, do the training, do the work. A lot of people forget that, you need to have the training. The training gives you the knowledge, it gives you the jargon, it gives you the vernacular to understand what people are saying on set. People will be asking what other actors will be asking of you during the process. And then from there, but just don't be afraid to go for it. I think a lot of people forget that not everything you have to do is practical, especially nowadays with the internet age. And we've seen people just get famous off of doing podcasts. Go for it. Go for it. Be practical about it. Understand that you need to move out here or over there and have either, a job or friends or family, or come out here with friends and, do a buddy system, but just be prepared. You have to be ready to be an adult about it. It's an adult challenge, but don't be afraid to go for it. That's what a lot of people think are too afraid. Just go for whatever and whether that be acting, music, moving up in your own, whatever your own business field you're already in, like just take that step and take that challenge and just go for it. I mean, it's going to be tough. It takes time, but it's worth it.
Great advice, man. And before we wrap up, where can our listeners find you online and keep up with everything you're doing?
And you guys can find me on Instagram at pretty much the same thing everywhere. It's BJAX9000. That's on Instagram and Threads. You guys can find me on Twitch. I'm trying to stream on Twitch more. I'm going to link that on my Threads too, but that is under Warstar20 on Twitch. But yeah, BJAX9000 on Instagram and Threads is the main place you can find me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Byron. This conversation we had been a blast, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this with our listeners. Is there anything we didn't cover that you would like to add?
No, it's been super fun, man. I loved it. It was great. It's one of my first podcasts, so I had a blast.
Awesome. Thank you, man. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in to this episode of Retro Pioneers Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review if you enjoyed this episode. We'll catch up with you next time.